Hey everyone, and welcome back to this part 2 of my work in progress for 11 Second Club June 2016. So from part 1, we left off from how I planned my shots, starting with getting my audio and acting it out, video referencing, blocking out my shot with the key poses and then adding more detailed key poses in, and then splining it out just to get a rough spline, just to make sure there's no weird kinks in it. It's not completely done yet, but I'll show you what I have so far.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
So the first thing that I do when I spline it out is I would make sure that I get the timing down first. So I would move things around, move my key poses around, make sure certain parts need to be faster, some parts need to be slower. I'm still moving all the keys together so to keep everything organized. So once I got all my timing right, I will actually start offsetting the keys. So what I like to do is I offset the head to the torso by 1 frame, and then I'll offset the arms from the torso by 2 frames. Because I realized that a lot of the animations, if you just offset it by 1, just offsetting the animation itself, it creates a much more organic feel naturally. Once I offset it, let me show you how it looks like.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
So what you just saw is I pretty much just what I said, offset the head to 1 frame, offset the arms. Just by doing that, I create a bit more organicness into my animation. I also added the previous version, the girl, when she was texting, she wasn't doing these tapping motions, so I added that in. After I offset everything, for both the guy and the girl, I like to work between these 2 characters. So I will offset the girl first, and then offset the guy, and then I move on to the next step. Maybe it's just polishing it. I'll go back to the girl and go back to the guy. So I move both these characters at once, so I can watch the whole thing through. Make sure not one character is not much more polished than the other character. After offsetting, I would polish the character, and what I like to work is working the way inside out. So I start with the hips, then the chest, then the head, and then the arms, and then small little things like hair and fingers. Polishing as in like creating a bit more, creating more ease out and ease ins. I'm just getting that nice spacing. So this is how it looks like after I polished the character.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
You notice that I'm not touching the head yet. I'm not touching the faces yet, the eyebrows and the mouth. I want to make sure that my body shape is there before I start to move on to the face. In this polishing stage, I will add more keys if the character needs it. Ideally you don't want to, but if they really need to, then you just gotta do what you have to do. So for Malcolm, for example, the guy, he has a lot of hand gestures, a lot of finger motion, the head scratching motions. So I have to add more keys, like the finger scratching. I have to add more keys to that. The hand opening, I have to tweak it a little bit more. And for the fingers, when I offset the controls, I like to group them up, the fingers. So a common mistake I see in a lot of animation is when they grab things, they grab it like this, and then they release, like a pretty flower. You don't want to be that perfect with the grabbing. In real life, you don't grab things like that, you just go and grab it and then you let go. Because it's moving so fast, you don't really see it, so you have to animate in a way that you actually feel it. So what I like to do is I like to offset the fingers by groups. So the pinky, I like to offset it by 1. Yes, the pinky will lead first, and then I like to group these 2 together, the ring and the middle finger. They are just slightly off when you offset the ring and the middle finger. It's only slightly off, but generally they move pretty much the same speed. Fingers on its own, and then the index and thumbs will be moving together most of the times. And then you have to kind of tweak it a little bit, manually go in, play with the graph, and then play with the spacing. Also make sure that the fingers has nice kind of spacing in between, so you don't want to be evenly spaced out. So you notice that the fingers are all spaced out differently. These 2 fingers, index to the middle, pinky to the ring. Same thing for here, is their spacing is different. Here they could be closer and this could be further away. So the next step, I would work on the eyebrows. First, eyebrows, and then the eyes, and then the mouth lip sync for the last one. I don't have a play blast of just the eyebrows. I had it with the mouth first. So let me just show you this clip.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
This is for the eyebrows. I will go in and polish it some more, add in a bit more ease in and ease outs. I'll also try to add in some accents to the eyebrows. So you can see at this part right here, whereas eyebrows goes up and it drops slightly just to hit that beat. So I want to keep in mind adding those things in. What I like to do with the eyebrows, right, is I like to offset the keys as well. So the eyebrows, there's 3 controllers, 1, 2, 3. I would like to lead with the middle controller, which is this one. So I offset it so that this one leads the action. So a lot of times, a lot of the actions comes from the middle, and then it kind of creates this flow into your animation. It makes it more appealing. But occasionally the middle would lead the action. For eye blinks, I typically find that it closes in 2 frames, 1, 2, and 1, 2. Sometimes 3 frames. So I think this one is about 3 frames. Let's see. Okay, let's go from here. 1, 2, 3. 1, and I hold that for 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 to 4 frames depending, but typically I find that it's 2 to 3 frames. Once I got the eyebrows in, I will start working on the mouth, the lip sync. Now the one problem I realized about Malcolm is that it's got too many controllers. So let me show you what it looks like when I try to polish the mouth with too much controllers on there right now.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
So you realize it's a bit messy. His mouth is kind of doing this default this position too much, and it feels a little stiff and kind of weird. So what I did is I delete all the mouth controllers and I start from scratch. I just delete all the controllers and then reset to 0. So how they would work with mouth animation, starting with the opening and closing of the mouth. So how they do that is they have your face underneath your mouth, elbow will be on the table, and you say your dialogue. So whenever your head pops out, like so, that's when your opens happen, your opening and closing. Once you get the opening and close, you get the narrow and wide of your mouth. So how they do that is they have the index finger and the thumb on the corner of your mouth. So whenever you speak, you can get that narrow and wide motion going on. So just getting this 2, opening and closing, and wide and narrow, you can get about 85% of your mouth animation there. So let me show you how it looks like after I erase all those animation stuff from scratch, and then start working with the opening and closing of the mouth, and then the wide and the narrow of the mouth.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
You notice that it feels more organic now. It's less cringy and less stiff, which is a good start, which is what I wanted. After I got that mouth poses in, I would add little details of like the mouth corners going up or going down and such. So this is how it looks like.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
So you notice all those B and P's, F's, they have a very fast motion when I say voice. You know, if you look at my mouth, it goes back and then explodes out like that. Voice creates that poof. I think I hold it for about 4 frames. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. About 3 frames. 2 frames holding. 1 frame is the ease out and then voice. So you create that nice impact. How I work is I did 1 character at a time. So I polish the guy's eyes, and then I go back to the girl, polish her eyes, go back to the guy, polish his mouth, go back to the girl, polish the mouth. So let me just show you the girl character. The reason I don't show you the Kayla's is because I'm actually quite happy with it. So I rather show you my the things that I need fixing than to show you the ones that I don't have to fix as much. Overall, I'm quite happy with Kayla's rig. The mouth shapes are very nice. Malcolm rig, I'm not too sure why it's very heavy, so working with it is a little frustrating. So at least now I know that Malcolm is not my kind of rig. Let me show you what I did for Kayla when I add the eyebrows and eyes.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
So when I work on the eyebrows and eyes, I like to exaggerate the eyebrows a little bit for accents. So at the beginning when she's saying her dialogue, I want you to try it again. So when she moves her head up, I move her eyebrows up as well. Just to add a little bit of accent and texture. The mouth as well, the same thing. I work with the mouth, the narrow and wide first, then the opening and closing. So this is where I'm at. I also added some eye dots for her eyes. Just to see how it does with the motion. I just watched Finding Dory, and I was very inspired by the face animation for Finding Dory. Their face and their mouth is so nice. The shapes, the organicness. You could read every single word they say. I was very influenced, very motivated by Finding Dory's mouths, and I decided to push the animation a bit more for Kayla and try to exaggerate the closes and the opens and the narrow of the mouth. Try to create arcs with it. The corner of the mouth doesn't just go in and out, it actually goes around in a circle. And because arcs is one of the principles of animation, so to make it look nice, so I create all these nice arcs on the corner of the mouth. Let me show you how it looks like.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
I'm actually quite happy with Kayla's animation, with the mouth and everything, but there's certain things that I need fixing. I would say the body, it needs to polish a little bit more, like when she goes up to say this dialogue, we need you to do an accent. She kind of goes up and hits a wall. So I went and fixed that, and some other things I totally forgot what I did. But let me show you the playback of that, the body polishing.
I want to try it again, but this time we need you to do an accent.
So what I did is I exaggerate certain things, like the head going up and going down motion. I would add a little bit more anticipation on certain motions. Maybe I would add more squash, not using a squash controller, just kind of tilting the head down to create an illusion that is squashing. So after polishing Kayla, I feel like Malcolm needs a bit more work. So I went back and polished his mouth as well, exaggerating the B's, creating the timing of it, make it a bit more snappy. Again, influenced motivation from Finding Dory. Good stuff, good movie. Let me play it back for you and show you how it looks like.
You mean like an Indian accent?
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather not. I just feel kind of weird doing that voice. Is that okay?
Let me just conclude this by talking about what I need to polish on and what mistakes that I learned. So number one mistake I learned is that to not use too many controllers to animate. Get most of your animation from the big controllers. So big controllers are like, okay, let's look at Malcolm for example. Big controllers, oh look at this, too many controllers, jeez. It's nice, but you know, too many. So small controllers are things like this, where you could bend the arms. You don't want to touch things like this yet, or maybe like 2 neck controllers and then an upper chest control. So these controllers I wouldn't touch. I actually delete all the controllers for those things, just to make sure that my animation is not being weird just because of these little things. Same thing for the face, keep it simple. Use only the big controllers to create most of your shapes. That's number one thing I learned in this animation. I think the second thing I would learn is to do more video recordings, more video references. Even though I did one, or I recorded a few times, but I feel like I'm not feeling the emotion yet for Malcolm especially. I think that's why his animation is not there yet. Let me show you which part I'm feeling kind of weird with Malcolm. So at the beginning, I'm happy with it when he says his line. From the thinking onwards, and when he drifts from screen right to screen left, it's a little weird for some reason, where he kind of just shifting his weight from one side to the other. So I'm trying to figure out why is it weird right now. Maybe I have to add a bit of an accent, maybe with his eyes or head. Maybe it's maybe he's kind of floaty when you shift his weight from one side to the other. So I'm trying to figure that out. Why is that kind of weird right now? I may have to tweak the body a little bit more. is to get that emotion right. Now the thing I learned about this animation is to exaggerate everything, almost everything. And there's influence from Finding Dory. I was motivated by their animation, their snappiness, and the shapes, the mouth shapes especially. So I realized I need to kind of push it a bit more. So for the things like when they are saying any words with a B or F and a V, just so they could feel it without actually seeing it. So for example, let's look at Kayla's animation. When she says the word do, I actually close her mouth almost completely. This I'm still using her main controller, so which is the narrow and wide controller, and then the lips that goes up and down. Just those controllers. So the shape is still not there. It's like one line that goes across. So I probably have to go in there and tweak it a little bit more. Before that, the mouth was a bit more open. So right now it's like this. The space in between. The space used to be about that before. The ooh. But it was showing too much of her teeth. So it looks like she's saying So I decided to kind of close it a bit more. And later on, a further polishing into this, I have to make that nice ooh shape. And all these little creases on the side of the cheek. It's not important when you're just doing animation, but I would like to see this as a real life production. So if you have things like this, lighting is going to see it. So those are the few things I learned about this anime. Overall, I'm pretty happy with my animation. There's still some parts of the animation is a little dry, like I mentioned. I'll try to polish. I'm gonna polish it some more before I submit this to the competition. I think I have one more weekend to go. So next weekend, I may make a part 3 just to show how I finalize everything, or I may not if I didn't do much on it. But yeah, that's all for this video. I'm going to be making more videos like this, animation kind of topics. I hope it helps you out as well. It also helps me out because I'm trying to explain what I just learned, so it goes into my head and cement, so I remember it better. So yeah, subscribe. I don't know what I'm going to do next, so let's see after I finish this 11-second club. See you next time, and bye.